everyone, welcome back to another episode of Am I the A-Hole Horror Movie Edition. The way this works is I read the synopsis of a movie told in the perspective of Am I the A-Hole submission. The challenge is to see how fast you know the movie and the character that is telling the story. And if you haven't seen the movie, perhaps this will intrigue you and you'll find a new horror movie to watch. This one says, am I the a-hole for putting my friends in danger?
Yes.
I, 24-year-old female, and my friends are adrenaline junkies.
We're adrenaline junkies.
We are constantly hiking, exploring whitewater rafting, caving, climbing, and skydiving. 3 of us, me, Jessica, and Liz, did a Class 4 whitewater rafting excursion one year. On that trip, Liz's husband George and her young daughter Ella came with us and were there to meet us at the end of the river. Liz has a hard time being away from her daughter on our trips, so her husband had volunteered to bring her and watch her so Liz could go. He was also there to see me. I didn't mean to fall in love with Liz's husband. It happened naturally. I was lonely and he was lonely after their daughter was born. Liz spent all her time and energy on Ella and had no time for him. We tried to deny our feelings at first, but it soon became clear that we were a better fit. When we finished on the river, I managed to snag a brief moment of alone time with George. He was so tender with me, removing my helmet and assuring me that he was going to break up with Liz that night once they got Ella back to the hotel and tucked in bed. I was nervous but giddy with excitement. No more hiding and sneaking around. George would finally be mine. Sure, I would lose Liz as a friend, but I was sure once she saw us together, she would see how much better fit me and George were.
You're completely delusional.
They would always have Ella in common, so she couldn't cut me out of her life completely. After Liz and George left, I waited for his call. It never came. Liz and George were in a car accident, and George and Ella lost their lives. I went to the hospital to comfort Liz, but I saw her breaking down in the hall in Jessica's arms and couldn't do it. I couldn't add to her grief with my own. How could I tell her now about me and George? How could I hide the fact that my overwhelming grief wasn't just for her and her loss, but also my own? I kept in touch from afar for a year, and then the opportunity arose to go on another adventure. I wanted to invite my friends anyway and included Liz. It was time we got the group back together. I couldn't change the past, but perhaps I could help us both heal by getting all of us back together for some excitement. Along with Liz and Jessica, we had our longtime adventure partners, sisters Jane and Lisa, plus a young adventurer I had taken under my wing named Ruby. Liz rode up with Jessica. When they arrived, I asked Jessica in private how Liz was doing. She said Liz was here. I understood that. I was still lost in my grief, but I needed to keep moving, to keep living, and I hoped Liz would see that too. We spent the night in a cabin drinking and catching up. We caught up with everyone. Lisa was almost done with med school.
Doctor. Terrific job, doctor.
Jessica is a teacher and is getting old. Ruby is a base jumper. We reminisced about old times and looked at old pictures. Liz reminded me of something that George used to say. Love each day. It's a quote that meant so much to me. I had to hide my tears as we toasted to the upcoming adventure. Ruby confided in Lisa that the caverns we were planning on exploring were super overhyped and overexplored. She said it would be boring, little more than a tourist trap. I assured her that I wouldn't let her down. As the night progressed, we kept drinking and the topic turned to relationships. Ruby confessed that she wanted to have children, and I could see how much that affected Liz. Early in the morning, while everyone slept in, hungover, I went for a run. Running is something I have always done, but since George's passing, I haven't been able to live without it.
Run away from your problems. Again.
It was a time to be alone and shed some private tears. When I got back, I put on a brave face and woke everyone else up. Before we left, we took a picture, the last one we would take together. Evidence of how good of friends we were. Liz drove us to the cave entrance. She laughed and drove fast and was having fun. I loved that for her. We laughed together for the first time since the rafting trip last year. When we arrived to the place, we had to leave the vehicles and hike to the cave entrance. I left the guidebooks in the car. We wouldn't need them. As we hiked the mile or so to the cave entrance, Jane explained the perils of cave exploration. As we hiked, we came across a dead elk. It looked like an animal had gotten to it. Ruby took a picture. The cavern entrance was down a long drop. We rappelled down into it. It was so amazing down there. I couldn't wait to show my friends. They were all more reluctant than me coming down, except for Ruby, who was always enthusiastic and reckless, but after they came down, they appreciated the beauty as well. We went down further into the cave. I lit a flare inside the first chamber we got to, and again, it was beautiful. Liz wandered off, and I found her regrouping everyone to get a snack. Ruby was impressed. She said the cave was much cooler than she anticipated. I took a private moment to talk to Liz and apologize for leaving so quickly after George and Ella's passing. She said it was okay and went back to explore the chamber. She soon called that she found the next passage. As we got ready to keep going, Jane pulled me aside. She was skeptical about the cave, saying it didn't look like how she pictured. I reassured her, and Ruby took the lead through the passage. The tunnel was long, and you had to scooch on your belly through most of it. Liz was the last one to go through, and she got stuck. Jessica went back to get her, and just as she got Liz moving, the passage behind them began to collapse. Jessica managed to get Liz out to safety, but the passage we had just come through completely collapsed. Even if we wanted to, we couldn't go out the way we came in. Jane told everyone that we would be okay. According to the guidebook, the cave had 3 entrances. She asked me for the book. I told her I didn't bring it. There was no point. They asked about a rescue. If I had told park rangers where we would be and when, they would know to come looking for us when we didn't report in. Jane caught on. She knew no one would be looking for us. I hadn't told anyone where we would be. This was a new cave system that I had found. I hadn't told anyone because I wanted us to discover it. I wanted it to be a unique, special adventure just for us. The explored cave would have been too boring. Even Ruby had called that out. They were turning on me. Jessica even called me a name. I had had it. I told her Liz wasn't the only one who had lost something in the car accident.
Wow.
She backed down, and I let everyone know we had to keep moving. It was our only chance of finding a way out. We crawled through another tunnel and came across a drop-off. It was super deep. We had to rig up a line across to the other side. That was when Liz revealed she had lost one of our bags when the other tunnel collapsed. We only had 1 bag of ropes. Jane secured a line for us, slowly making her way across with the clamps. Once she went across, we all slid over on the line. Liz was the last to go before me. She asked if this exploration was all about me. I told her no, it was about us, and I wanted to claim this cave together. Name it after her. She was skeptical, but dropped it and went across the drop. I went last. I knew we might need the rope later, so I did the reverse of what Jane did and took the line down. When I was halfway across, one of the clamps gave way.
Check! I'm looking down!
I fell, only being caught by the rope Jane had been holding. They pulled me up, but Jane had a nasty rope burn. One of the clamps Jane had used wasn't ours. It was old equipment, something not used anymore. Someone else had been down here, but still the cave was unknown. They had not made it out. We kept going. We saw some hieroglyphs on the cave wall. It showed 2 peaks and 2 entrances. There was another way out. We kept going with renewed hope. We came to a place that had multiple tunnels, and I used the movements of a lighter flame to determine which way to go. Ruby, in a panic, rushed in front of me. I called for her, but she said she saw a light. She ran toward it and fell into a hole.
But the whole world gotta stop for one little whitey down the hole.
She broke her leg in the fall. We went down into the hole where Ruby was, and Lisa, with her medical training,
Doctor. Whoa, doctor.
helped us splint Ruby's leg. I noticed Liz wandering off again as we worked on Ruby, but Lisa called me back from following Liz. She needed my help with Ruby. When I was able to go get Liz, I found her staring into the dark. She said she saw someone in the cave. I reassured her there was no one down here and told her I needed her to stay with me. Liz insisted she saw someone and told that to the group. Once Ruby's leg was splinted, she was able to hobble along with us. She said she saw light, but I assured her it was phosphorus in the rocks. We were still too far down to see outside. I guided us through the cave until Ruby needed a rest. We stopped in an open area and discovered the floor of the cave was littered with bones. Everyone started panicking, calling for help. That's when someone or something jumped on us. There was a creature in the cave with us. The creature screamed at us, circling us. Panic set in and we began to run, carrying Ruby with us. The creature jumped on us again and we were split up. I was knocked to the ground, and before I could help, the creature jumped on Ruby, biting a chunk out of her. I used a pickaxe to fight off the creature, managing to catch it in the chest before it jumped on me. We wrestled until I ended it with my pickaxe. I heard a noise behind me and swung around, driving the pickaxe right into Jessica's neck. She fell to the ground and I backed away. I was too scared and upset to know what else to do. Plus, I had to find Liz. She was my #1 priority. I wandered through the cave calling for my friends. I heard Lisa's watch alarm and followed the sound. I came across another creature and lifted my pickaxe, ready for a fight. When I caught up to him, he was attacking Jane. I ended him. Jane and Lisa were still together. I told them Jessica and Ruby were dead. Lisa told us that the creature's eyes weren't developed enough for sight. If we were quiet enough, we could evade them. Jane and Lisa were ready to go, but I couldn't leave without Liz. We walked through the cave, following some markings that I thought might lead us out. That's when I heard Liz scream. We went to find her and were attacked. We got split up from each other and Lisa found her way to another chasm. She tried to climb her way across it, but she didn't have enough rope. Jane and I found her and tried to coax her back to us. She refused. She was too afraid. When she was halfway across, a creature appeared. Before it could attack her, she took out her knife and cut her own throat. Jane screamed at the death of her sister and a creature grabbed her. There was nothing I could do, so I ran, jumped into the chasm and landed in the water. I climbed up the side of the chasm and about halfway up, I found a tunnel. As I tried to get into the tunnel, I fell, but was pulled to safety by Liz. She was covered in blood and had a crazy look in her eye. She asked about her friends and I told her they were gone. She asked if I saw Jessica die and I said yes.
That's what I do. I lie.
She gave me a long look, then led me through the cave. We made our way slowly, watching for creatures while looking for a way out. We came across some more creatures blocking our path. They jumped on us. We didn't hold back the brutality, just fought to live. We wrestled them and won the fight. When we were done, Liz and I stood face to face. She held up my necklace. I had lost it in the first fight, the one that ended Jessica. The necklace was one that George gave me. It said, "Love each day." Liz knew. She didn't say anything, just raised her weapon and swung it down, hitting me in the leg. Then she left me. I raised my axe, crippled as I was, and waited while the creature surrounded me.
Finish her!
So this is a pretty obvious one. It is The Descent. And the character speaking is Juno. I really like this movie. I know it's one of those commonly talked about movie and most people like it. I think that Juno is a very fascinating character. I wouldn't call her a true villain necessarily, but she is definitely a very selfish person. And of course, she makes a lot of mistakes. I really like the parallel storylines of her affair with Liz or Sarah in the movie, with Sarah's husband, and the story in the cave. It shows how Juno makes these decisions based off of emotion and doesn't think them through. She gets involved with her best friend's husband, getting caught up in the motion of the moment and not thinking through to the end, like, how will this actually impact me, my friendship? How does this end any way other than somebody getting hurt? And then you have her wanting to explore this new cave and her motivation seeming to be to make things right with Sarah somehow, to kind of get things back to normal, trying to rekindle this adventurous spirit that she and her friends had before the accident, without thinking through, what does this look like if this is not a safe place to go? It sounds really special and thrilling and fun to discover a new cave system, but caves are dangerous and you have no idea what's going to happen once you get down there. And I really like the ending of Juno being vague. She's kind of lost in a tragedy of her own making, kind of like how she was after Sarah's husband was killed. She has no one to turn to, no one to count on. She can't confide in anybody about what she did and about her grief. She's just kind of lost alone in that because of the choices she made. I think this is one of those fun movies where you, at least for me, see something new every time you watch it, get something new out of it. I had a lot of fun watching it this time around for this video and just focusing on Juno's perspective. I think it would be a really interesting story to watch from any of the girls' perspective. I think every time I've watched it, I've always watched it from Sarah's perspective, but everyone in the movie are unique characters with their own special storyline. I think another perspective that would be really interesting to watch it from would be the character of, I called her Jessica, but her name is Becca in the movie. She and Juno don't seem to have a super friendly relationship. They seem to be a little bit antagonistic, and Becca almost seems to only be there for Sarah and not really there for herself or anyone else. Anyway, let me know down in the comments what you think about this movie. Hit a like, hit a subscribe, please, and let me know what else you would like to see in this format. That's all I have for now. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care of yourself and drink water. Bye-bye. Subscribe!